My darling philosophers, welcome to our daily devotional reading. Let's close our eyes, take a deep breath in, and a deeper breath out. One more time together. Eyes, eyes are more than just mirrors of our dreams. It is a hidden key to understanding. I see. May we forever search for this deeper understanding. I see. And may we see, may we truly see, and hence know the truth. Insofar as knowing the truth is at all a possibility. This year we are pursuing the truth through reading Plato. And we are halfway through. Yay! See, I've almost achieved my goal. I've only almost went bonkers once in 6 months. That is quite an achievement. 1 page, double-sided print down. The only thing that I've, except for marking the days as we went along in pencil, I don't know if you'll be able to see my bad handwriting. The only other thing I have written down there is, these 2 souls dwell in my breast, the dreamer and the unbeliever. For some reason I thought that was important to share with you right at the beginning. Before we, and some more admin before we proceed, because I've had it written down 3 days now, and every time I forget to mention it. I will most likely be restoring the timeline on the 12th of August or on the 13th, seeing that there's a solar eclipse. I don't have any ritual planned yet. I'm not sure. I just want to go to the sea, because the sun sets over the sea, and the eclipse will shortly before sunset, 2 hours before sunset, 2-3 hours before sunset, the eclipse will be. And it will only be a 90% eclipse in the Netherlands, but that's good enough for me. I don't feel like traveling at this stage for an eclipse. I always feel, because for me it's more a ritual thing than a witnessing what this year I want to witness. I feel always best participating with the eclipse within my sanctuary, or close to my sanctuary. So, that admin out of the way, let's continue with Plato. Oh dear, I don't think I have it at the right spot. Let me just scroll. There we go. Socrates. I was thinking, Callicles, that something of the kind must have been in your mind, and that is why I repeated the question. What is the superior? I wanted to know clearly what you meant, for you surely do not think that two men are better than one, or that your slaves are better than you because they are stronger. Then please to begin again, and tell me who the better are, if they are not the stronger. And I will ask you, great sir, to be a little milder in your instructions, or I shall run away from you again. Callicles. You are ironical. Socrates. By no means, by the hero Zethus, Callicles, by whose aid you were just now saying many ironical things against me, I am not. Tell me then, whom you mean by the better. Callicles. I mean the more excellent. The other translation has the worthier. Socrates. Do you not see that you are yourself using words which have no meaning and that you are explaining nothing? Will you tell me whether you mean by the better and superior the wiser, or if not, whom? The wiser word here is phronesis, or it's deduced from phronesis. Callicles. Most assuredly I do mean the wiser. Socrates. So practical wisdom. Then according to you, one wise man may often be superior to 10,000 fools, and he ought to rule them, and they ought to be his subjects, and he ought to have more than they should. This is what I believe you mean, and you must not suppose that I am word-catching, if you allow that the one is superior to the 10,000. Callicles. Yes, that is what I mean, and that is what I conceive to be natural justice, that the better and wiser should rule and have more than the inferior. Socrates. Stop there, and let me ask you what you would say in this case. Let us suppose that we are all together as we are now. There are several of us, and we have a large common store of meats and drinks. And there are all sorts of persons in our company having various degrees of strength and weakness. And one of us, being a physician, is wiser in the matter of food than all the rest. And he is probably stronger than some and not so strong as others of us. Will he not, being the wiser, be also better than we are, and are superior in the matter of food? Certainly. Socrates. Either then he will have a larger share of the meats and drinks, because he is better, or he will have the distribution of all of them by reason of his authority. But he will not expend or make use of a larger share of them on his own person, or if he does, he will be punished. His share will exceed that of some, and be less than that of others. And if he be the weakest of all, he being the best of all, will have the smallest share of all. Callicles. Am I not right, my friend? Callicles. You talk about meats and drinks and physicians and other nonsense. I am not speaking of them. Socrates. Well, but do you admit that the wiser is the better? Answer yes or no. Yes. Answer yes or no. Sometimes very difficult to get from people. Or artificial intelligence. Callicles. Yes. Socrates. And ought not the better to have the larger share? Callicles. Not of meats and drinks. Socrates. Oh, I understand then. Perhaps of coats. The skillful weaver ought to have the largest coat, and the greatest number of them, and go about clothed in the best and finest of them. Callicles, fudge about coats. I think he's swearing. Socrates, then the skillfulest and best in making shoes ought to have the advantage in shoes. The shoemaker clearly should walk about in the largest shoes and have the greatest number of them. Callicles, fudge about shoes. What nonsense are you talking? Socrates, or if this is not your meaning, perhaps you would say that the wise and good and true farmer should actually have a larger share of seeds and have as much seed as possible for his own land. Callicles, how you go on talking in the same way, Socrates. Socrates, yes, Callicles, and also about the same things. Callicles, yes, by the gods, you are literally always talking of cobblers and fullers and cooks and doctors, as if this had to do with our argument. Socrates, but why will you not tell me in what a man must be superior and wiser in order to claim a larger share? Will you neither accept a suggestion or offer one? Callicles, I have already told you. In the first place, I mean by superiors not cobblers or cooks, but wise politicians who understand the administration of state, and who are not only wise but also valiant and able to carry out their designs, and not the men to faint from want of soul. Well, not fainting from want of soul is always a good thing. Socrates, see now, most excellent Callicles, how different my charge against you is from that which you bring against me. For you reproach me with always saying the same, but I reproach you with never saying the same thing about the same things. For at one time you were defining the better and the superior to be the stronger, then again as the wiser, and now you bring forward a new notion. The superior and the better are now declared by you to be the more courageous. I wish, my good friend, that you would tell me once for all whom you affirm to be the better and superior, and in what they are better. Callicles, I have already told you that I mean those who are wise and courageous in the administration of a state. They ought to be the rulers of their states, and justice consists in their having more than their subjects. Socrates, but whether rulers or subjects, will they or will they not have more than themselves, my friend? Callicles, what do you mean? Socrates, I mean that every man is his own ruler. But perhaps you think that there is no necessity for him to rule himself. He is only required to rule others. Callicles, what do you mean by his ruling over himself? Socrates, a simple thing enough. Just what is commonly said, that a man should be temperate and master of himself, and ruler of his own pleasures and passions. Callicles, ugh, what innocence! You mean those fools, the temperate? Socrates, certainly. Anyone may know that to be my meaning. Callicles, quite so, Socrates, and they are really fools. For how can a man be happy who is the servant of anything? On the contrary, I plainly assert that he who would truly live ought to allow his desires to wax to the uttermost, and not to chastise them. But when they have grown to their greatest, he should have courage and intelligence to minister to them, and to satisfy all his longings. And this I affirm to be the natural justice and nobility. To this, however, the many cannot attain. And they blame the strong man because they are ashamed of their own weakness, which they desire to conceal. And hence they say that intemperance is base. As I have remarked already, they enslave the nobler natures, and being unable to satisfy their pleasures, they praise temperance and justice out of their own cowardice. For if a man had been originally the son of a king, or had a nature capable of acquiring an empire, or a tyranny or sovereignty, what could be more truly base or evil than temperance? To a man like him, I say, who might freely be enjoying every good, and has no one to stand in his way, and yet has admitted custom and reason and the opinion of other men to be lords over him. Must not he be in a miserable plight whom the reputation of justice and temperament hinders from giving more to his friends than to his enemies, even though he be a ruler in his city? Nay, Socrates, for you profess to be a votary of the truth, and the truth is this, that luxury and intemperance and license, if they be provided with means, are virtue and happiness. All the rest is mere bauble, arguments contrary to nature, foolish talk of men, nothing worth. Socrates. There is a noble freedom, Callicles, in your way of approaching the argument. For what you say is what the rest of the world thinks, but do not like to say. And I must beg of you to persevere, that the true rule of human life may become manifest. Tell me then, you say, do you not, that in the rightly developed man the passions ought not to be controlled, but that we should let them grow to the utmost and somehow or other satisfy them, and that this is virtue? Yes, I do. Socrates, then those who want nothing are not truly said to be happy? Callicles, no indeed, for then stones and dead men would be the happiest of all. Socrates, but surely life according to your view is an awful thing. And indeed I think that Euripides may have been right in saying, who knows if life be not death and death life? And that we are very likely dead. I have heard a philosopher say that at this moment we are actually dead, and that the body, soma, is our tomb, sema, and that the part of the soul which is the seat of desires is liable to be tossed about by words and blown up and down. And some ingenious person, probably a Sicilian or an Italian, playing with a word, invented a tale in which he called the soul, because of its believing and make-believe nature, a vessel. It's an untranslatable pun, it says. And the ignorant he called the uninitiated or leaky, and the place in the souls of the uninitiated in which the desires are seated, being the intemperate and incontinent part, he compared to a vessel full of holes, because it can never be satisfied. He is not of your way of thinking, Callicles, for he declares that of all the souls in Hades, meaning the invisible world, these uninitiated or leaking persons are the most miserable, and that they pour water into a vessel which is full of holes, out of a colander which is similarly perforated. The colander, as my informer assures me, is the soul, and the soul which he compares to a colander is the soul of the ignorant, which is likewise full of holes, and therefore incontinent, owing to a bad memory and want of faith. These notions are strange enough, but they show the principle which, if I can, I would fain prove to you, that you should change your mind, and instead of intemperate and insatiate life, choose that which is orderly and sufficient, and has a due provision for daily needs. Do I make any impression on you, and are you coming over to the opinion that that the orderly are happier than the intemperate, or do I fail to persuade you? And however many tales I rehearse to you, do you continue of the same opinion still? The latter, Socrates, is more like the truth. Socrates, well, I will tell you another image which comes out of the same school. Let me request you to consider how far you would accept this as an account of the two lives of the temperate and the intemperate in a figure. There are two men, both of whom have a number of casks. The man has his casks sound and full, one man, one of wine, another of honey, and the third of milk, besides others filled with other liquids, and the streams which fill them are few and scanty, and he can only obtain them with a great deal of toil and difficulty. But when his casks are once filled, he has no need to feed them any more, and has no further trouble with them or care about them. The other, in like manner, can procure streams, though not without difficulty. But his vessels are leaky and unsound, and night and day he is compelled to be filling them. And if he pauses for a moment, he is in agony of pain. Such are their respective lives. And now would you say that the life of the intemperate is happier than that of the temperate? Do I not convince you that the opposite is the truth? Callicles. You do not convince me, Socrates, for the one who has filled himself has no longer any pleasure left. And this, as I was just now saying, is the life of a stone. He has neither joy nor sorrow after he is once filled. But the pleasure depends on the superabundance of the influx. On that strange note, I think we're midway in argument. Thus far, our reading. Let's return to starting at the end with this idea of what is best. A constant influx of pleasure, of satisfying our desires, or taking care to have unleaky vessels so that not much is needed. I think my word choice already portrays my view, but it is also an incorrect word choice because I say not much, and this image kind of implies that nothing else is needed. I don't think that is an attainable human position, that nothing at all is needed. I do think that the less you need, the more you will have. The more abundance you will feel you have, because all your needs will be met. And I do think it's a human propensity, that we do tend to want more and more and more. So maybe it's just a matter of what exactly, of choosing our loves, as I used to say to Sarah, of what do you need more and more and more, because you are going to need more and more and more. But if it's cheap frills or expensive stuff, I cannot imagine. By all means, as I said yesterday, I'm a nihilist, so by all means, well, I don't rock your own boat, float your boat. I don't know what. There's something with a boat. Whatever floats your boat. That's an expression, right? I just don't think that's a wise way to live. I think if you are fortunate enough to love something that you constantly can pour in and take out of, you are very fortunate indeed. Something, for instance, like the love of knowledge, because that is an insatiable need of many people, myself included. And maybe it's not wise. There are many traditions, so I don't have it here. The Tao is all about you don't learn by gaining knowledge, you learn by letting go of knowledge. So many people will consider me extremely foolish for loving knowledge as I do. But it don't cost me much in this day and age of the internet. And relatively cheap and accessible books. I am, of course, well, of course I shouldn't say, because many of you don't know my alter ego. I am not at all happy with this idea of the body, the soma, being a tomb, the sema, and that we should deny our bodies all pleasure and all satisfaction. Because it's not all bad. I think the Epicureans actually went to great extent to determine what is bad and what is good. Needs, desires, and how best to fulfill them. Even then, though, I would call upon Prometheus and a Promethean attitude towards your life. The Afrikaans word is not in my head. In looking ahead, as far as possible, what the consequences of an action would be. If the greater good, if it would result in a greater good in the long run, then by all means, pursue it. If not, then don't. It's not always, of course, easy to know what will result in the greatest good, but that's why we need to start to listen. To the unfolding. Just before I started recording, I watched a woman lecturing on Spinoza, and she looks so much like a family friend of of us. She grew up with my mom. Her dad and mom was the doctor and nurse when I was born. So he put my finger back together, her dad. I cut my finger off when I was I think 4 years old, and he put it back together. You can hardly see it, but you do see a little bit the tip is a bit smaller than the rest. So very, very much family. And she looked so much like her, but she just had a normal woman's life of that generation. But she's also super intelligent. And that made me think when I read about this satisfying passion. And I almost want to cry now. Oh my God. I don't know what's wrong. For how long women couldn't learn. Weren't allowed at the universities to study, to speak of these things, of higher things, of anything except, what is that? Oh, they said it so well, the musical. In Dutch, but still. Sewing and washing, something like that, was all they allowed to had knowledge of. And I'm so grateful. This is how much I love knowledge. Almost as much as Rebecca and my other friends. See, that's what satisfying passion can do to you. It can really, really lead to great happiness in this world. And that's not something we should shun lightly. I also wrote down luxury because I consider myself someone who's extremely fond of luxury, but the friends who know me and know how I live find it weird. Unless I start pointing out, and I've got so many blankets gifted from people, soft blankets. For me, that's luxury. Soft pillows, soft blankets, soft bed, softness, and pretty things. I do like pretty things. I spend a lot of time today with Dostoevsky. Maybe that's why I'm a bit vulnerable. And Ivan, oh my God, the boy has my heart broken. I adore him. I don't know what his outcome would be yet. But Folly mentioned that the second half of the book is much less discussed because people don't read that far. They get stuck halfway through. But this part of Ivan's nightmare of the devil is that it should also be studied so deeply. And what did I have marked? Whoopsie daisy. I'm reading Dostoevsky all over the place at the moment. But Folly gave us the week off from his book, so now I'm reading the end. Oh. Maybe I should speak of my view of God first. I thought about my view of God today, specifically in relation to the problem of evil, I think. So from this book I read today, I wonder. The symbol of today is transformation. I forgot. Transformation. I don't think I'm going to go into the detail of that. From Dionysus or Pseudo Dionysus, I don't know. And not so much anything he wrote that I want to... just one of his headings, I kind of gave me an idea. His heading is the preeminent cause of all that is sensible is not himself sensible, or is intelligible is not itself intelligible, so able to be understood. But I think my idea of God, my emerging idea of God, is that the preeminent cause of all that is sapient is not itself sapient. I don't think there was intelligence in the beginning. I think, and of course I'm very biased, sapience also meaning wisdom. I think it is our human type of consciousness is part of a very simple beginning of a desire for knowledge, as I said. Yeah, I'm so biased. I'm totally creating my God in my own image. I see that. But this, at least, the preeminent cause of all that is sapient is not itself sapient. That feels very true to me. It may be sentient. It may be sentience itself. But that might just be Alex's influence on me. Because sentient, and although I suppose you do need senses to be truly sentient, experiencing pain, experiencing experiences. Although experience itself, what it is like to be, is consciousness, they say. So that might be his influence on me, why I think that maybe it was sentient but not sapient. And so then for me, the one begins as this completely differentiated, maybe even small. I don't know if it starts at the big and comes and then differentiates in the many, or does it start as a small and differentiate into the many from there. That is experiencing differentiation, becoming parts, and is suffering in it. Because the more sentient a being becomes, it feels also like the more understanding there is, the more potential for sapience there is. And this makes Homo sapiens sound extraordinarily high in the chain. And maybe we are, because, at least for now, being seeking understanding. But in everything that suffers, being suffers itself. The one suffers itself. And that then, I think Bernardo Kastrup will complement really well in his sacrificial. I remember a long time ago when I read about a lot of cosmology, I wrote something about the first sacrificial act already took place when the first stars exploded. Something like that, something melodramatic like that. So all suffering is the one suffering, because I remember Alex mentioning that, yeah, sure, dying on a cross is bad and going to hell is bad, but how does it compare to, say, 6 hours of being eaten alive? The suffering of one elephant, in other words. How does one act of suffering for a number of hours redeem all of that? It can't. But if the one is suffering continuously itself in every single act of suffering, maybe that could be some sort of... Maybe that is why some time ago when I thought about the one, I really felt a deep sense of compassion for it. Because it's suffering in this unfolding. This desire to know itself. And then by all means, if it's possible, if you at all have the slightest hope of participating in this unfolding in a way that is pleasurable and good and true and beautiful and brings you happiness, embrace it. Because that is also a way to grow. We also grow through happiness, not just through suffering. We also grow through satisfying passion. Experience the exhilaration of pursuing a goal. So let's get to Ivan. Oh yes. So this is Smerdkayov speaking. I don't know. The character that's really close to Folly's heart. It was true what you taught me, sir, he says to Ivan. For you told me a lot about that then. For if there is no infinite God, then there is no virtue either, and there is no need of it whatever. That is true what you said. And that was how I fought too. See, I think the exact opposite is true. If there is no infinite God, or if God itself is still in the process of becoming, which makes the most sense to me, because there's something, I'm quite sure there's something. Then I suppose I'm a bit of a pantheist. For if there's no infinite God, then there is so much more need for virtue too. Because then it's on us. Being good is then on us. We have no one to hide behind. And quite frankly, if you need a God to be good, you ain't good. That's for sure. For a diamond is, when all is said and done, a very precious thing, but it speaks here of, I think, a soul. Yeah, a soul. the so-called devil, which of course is only a projection of everything traditionally seen as evil, but I see as good. There's a song, I already shared it once. I think it's Come With Us, a woman singing on behalf of the goddess. The words that I want to quote is, "You don't need to bow down, keep your head up." This man standing tall, woman standing tall and proud. And I get it, because Hebrews is an ugly thing. But so is not, and it feels a bit... I learn as I speak, remember that. So is not appreciating your own worth. That's also not a very attractive thing. The devil, for instance, here says, "I may be the only person in all nature who loves truth and sincerely desires good." And maybe he's portrayed as lying, but I don't think so. And in that sense, the snake in the garden is, in my mind, associated also with the devil. Only in it is him who, the one who stands up, well, Prometheus, the one who stands up to traditional, what do you call it, subjugation of all, of everyone and everything. Oh, and then he says, conscience. What is conscience? I make it myself. Why am I tormenting myself then? Out of habit. Out of a universal human habit that has been acquired over 7,000 years. Don't know why 7, okay. So then if we drop the habit, we shall be gods. He said that, he said that. No. Again. If we cultivate the habit of listening to our conscience, we shall be gods. Because then that is that still voice within. That is listening to the all, the one. What is required in the moment? What is the best for the whole? How we may participate best in this unfolding. I do have the courses with me, I don't know. So I think, just quickly. So the final course I have to scratch, as I said yesterday, because I'm a nihilist. The material course, the formal course, and the efficient course. So what it is made out, the form, essence, shape, and the primary source, agent, or thing that brings in emotion. I think that might all be the same thing, if that is at all possible. I still don't know why there is something instead of nothing, if there is something at all. But even if this is just a dream within a dream, it's still a dream, right? It's still a sum, maybe not a something, just a sum. I don't know. But I do love learning and knowledge. And I'm so grateful for all the extraordinary people of the past and the present and the future that makes learning possible. Who makes learning possible? Sophia herself will guide your way.